NERDSoul.
Lay Ill Kid at OneYoungsta, holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. Let's go, guys. Look, we're talking about Star Wars, and we are not by ourselves. Oh boy, this is a show. So we have writer, director extraordinaire Jay Sherer. What's up?
Oh, it's good to be here. I don't know if I'm glad this show is over or or what, but I will say this: I will miss talking with you guys about it. So this is good that we got the final episode. We'll break it all down, but this is a doozy, man.
Okay, well, all right, and we also have the cinematic sorcerer, Solar Grey. What's up?
Hello, everyone. This is Solar Grey, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And Jay, I'm not one to quote Sylvester Stallone very often, but today I'm reminded of his immortal words from Rambo 3.
Ooh.
It's not over! It's not over!
Explain what you mean by it's not over.
All right, I'm trying to save this for final thoughts, but I can't. Okay, everything about this show said prequel. It is a prequel show to itself, so it is not over. It is not over
to itself. Oh man, you know what? In saying that, it reminded me of, I can't remember who shared it to me, but this guy was like, "Hey, like if there was a show called Shark Cop in the '90s, every episode from the first episode, it'd be a shark, he'd be a cop, he'd be busting perps and stuff, kicking down doors. Now you get 12 episodes of a man hanging out until like episode 13, where like a transfusion happens where he becomes a shark, and then that's the finale. And then like hopefully you come back season 2 for Shark Cop, the actual show.
You know what? I blame Disney. I 100% blame Disney, because you know the first place we got this?
Where?
Daredevil.
No, Daredevil was beating people up since episode 1.
No, that was Matt beating people up. He didn't become
He
Daredevil.
had the do-rag and everything.
He had the do-rag, but he didn't have a suit.
Yo,
The whole
do-rag
season-
Daredevil was the realest, though. He had the raps and everything. He might be even more real.
Yeah, I'm saying that was Matt. That was Matt because he didn't have the D and the D. Okay, and I'm not talking the Dungeons and the Dragons. I'm talking.
Well,
the
now
Dare
I've
and
gone
the
back
Devil.
and started watching Marvel Netflix again, and I was like, man, this show is crazy.
Because see, Luke Cage was always Luke Cage. He never became Power Man.
True that.
You know, he was always Luke Cage. But
Yeah.
Daredevil had 7 episodes of Matt becoming Daredevil. Then he got the suit. Mid-season, he got the
But at
suit.
least he was still beating people up. Like in episode 1, he was serving butt whoopings to many folks. So at least we got that. This okay, all right. You know what? All right. Oh man.
Where do we even start? Where do we even start?
Okay, I'm gonna say something nice before I probably start being mean. All right. The nice part about this show is that it brings up a bunch of awesome concepts in Star Wars in general. A bunch of story threads that I think could be cool. So there you go. There you go, Acolyte. I think you bring up a lot of concepts that I like. I think you bring up a lot of story threads that I like. One story thread that I'm pretty sure we should have seen in the first episode, but I will wait on that one. Jake, is there anything nice you can say right now?
Yeah, I can say some nice things. I'll say some nice things. One, I totally agree with you. Conceptually, the show is very strong. If you pitched this show to me, there's a pretty good chance that I greenlight this show. As a concept, not necessarily with the same creators and the same ideas, but like, not same ideas, because that's what I mean by concept. But in terms of like how they're going to execute that concept, that's where it gets a little bit dicier to me. I would have needed a more detailed pitch, like how many episodes do you need to do this? What kind of cameos are you expecting to throw in here? How many characters do you think you're going to try and throw in here? Do you have too many characters? Are you trying to do too much with the number of ideas that you have going for you right now?
I'm doing everything in my power not to channel Ryan George right now. Everything.
What is that? What were you about to say?
I want to hear this. Yeah, I want to hear it.
Oh yeah, like all I'm hearing is, so you have a Star Wars show for me? Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
It's called The Acolyte.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
The Acolyte. I think I took something for that one day.
man.
Yes.
So yeah, I just don't. Okay. All right. Oh, you know what? Solar, do you have any really, really nice things? No backhanded comments, just nice things to say about this show.
No, like seriously. Overall, I like the show. I really do. This show was a Star Wars attempt at a kung fu movie, and I appreciate that. You know, it had a lot of restraints that something like, say, Kill Bill didn't have, and it did a lot of the stuff very well. I loved the fight scenes in this show. I loved the concept for this show. I was looking forward to this show. I gotta give the flowers to the main character. Playing a double role is never easy.
True.
You know, and she didn't go over the top like Willem Dafoe talking in a mirror to the Green Goblin.
You know what? I kind of like that though.
You know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing,
The
but
crazy
I am saying
ham is kind of it works for him.
yeah, but you know, that's Willem Dafoe. I mean, the man could read the phone book, you know, and put his hands in the air since Platoon, and it's all good, period. But she did an amazing job in this show. I am super happy with our new Sith.
Yeah.
He is cool. He is cool. Like, the only other thing I'd ever seen Manny in was The Good Place. And
Yeah, see, I don't watch that show, so this is my first time ever seeing him.
oh, dude, he's a completely different character in The Good Place. And very few actors. I mean, this was something that even Mark Hamill himself had to go through for decades. All right. Very few actors can get audiences to see past the role that made them famous. Okay. Carrie Fisher straight up looked at him and said, "You just got to accept that you are going to be Luke Skywalker from now on." She said that to him in 1981. All right. And he's like, you know what? You're right. You know, it doesn't matter how many plays on Broadway I do, no matter how many other movies I do. You know, it took him until 1991 to be something other than Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's either going to be Luke Skywalker or the Joker forever. And
Which isn't a bad kick.
it's not bad, but as an actor, I can tell you it's a tough thing. Because it's like, you know, I can play this kind of role. That's nice. Grab your lightsaber. Well, you know, I could grab this kind of role. Yeah, I'm sure you can. Now grab your lightsaber. You know, the only actor that's ever really been able to pull it off from the Star Wars place of being was Harrison Ford. But what happened to Harrison Ford? Well, let's see. He went from Han Solo to Indiana Jones. Does he have a movieography or a filmography of more than 30 films? Yes. Can you name 5? Yes. Can you name 10? If you thought about it. Can that 10 not include Indiana Jones? No, you cannot. I don't care what you say in the comments section. Okay, so when I saw Manny in this role, as much as I joke about his dance troupe in Jacksonville, this was not the same dude. he showed that he had range. So yeah, I got a lot of positive things to say about this show. A lot.
Cool. All right. So now let's get into the episode. Cause it's episode time. Okay. This is the finale of The Acolyte. And we've been watching this show all the way through, all 8 episodes. And this episode solidified that no one knew how to organize the ideas on the page. Because this finale, in my opinion, is like a finale for 3 different shows. and then they leave threads hanging that you're like, bruh, did you think you was going to get a second? I mean, maybe they will because Disney just got money, but there's no guarantee. Like okay, I'm just going to come right out and say it. The whole thing with the senator we should have opened with that. Or like we should have opened with that or flashed to that like right after Trinity was killed. Yes, I said Trinity. Sorry. Not Trinity, but in this case, Trinity. But
yeah, it's not like she's got 15 movies in her filmography.
She's either Trinity or now I forgot her name now, but the extremely foul and depressing lawyer in Jessica Jones. But
and Iron Fist.
Oh yeah, Iron Fist. Yeah, pretty much Marvel Netflix. But man, what she did to her girlfriend was foul. But anyway, this. I'm looking at this like, hold up. Why isn't this in the beginning? Why are you like just shoehorning this in the end? I mean, from actors, from writers, directors. I mean, we either work around or in this industry. I'm not strange for thinking that was weird, right?
No,
or thinking it was way too late.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this scene, wondering why it's so late, and then thinking, okay, cool. Well, at least it's the finale. Vernestra, and the stranger, they're gonna have their closure moment. They are gonna fight. They're gonna at least meet, at least tussle a little bit. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to see that Vernestra is maybe under the gun, feeling pressure that, oh, I did this thing, I did something that we never find out. But apparently, maybe she went to the dark side and abused her Padawan back in the day or something. I don't know. But whatever she did, that never gets resolved. But we do see a little bit of the pressure in these last 2 episodes. This type of pressure should have been seen the whole show. Like, oh, she's trying to hide something. Maybe she's doing some dirty stuff too. And then she ends up like, okay, well, I'm going to just throw it all on Soul. Like when she finds out like, oh, cool, good. I could throw this all on Soul and it'll be fine. And I can kind of clear my conscience. And then just the stuff, I just started not caring because there was so much stuff going on that was not getting resolved. And it seems like we had no true direction. And I wonder how this got greenlit. Like, or no, not greenlit. How this got to shooting. Because when they start reading the story and start reading the script, and like, oh no, let's put this with this, or maybe this should be 2 different shows, or like, so I don't know how we get this like this from people that, once again, like I'm saying, Jason said, with Marvel, they have no plan. They just want to make something, slap Star Wars on it, and be like, y'all gonna watch it. It's got cool ideas. It's got tons of cool ideas. But I'm like, where are we going? Oh, man. This is a show that I was really hyped about because I was like, The Acolyte. This is going to be about The Acolyte. All right? And we're going to be following somebody in the dark side, and they're going to be doing acolyte things. And this is going to be acolyte the whole time. Oh, yeah, this is going to be something very different. I mean, it is very different. But I feel like we sort of got to know the Acolyte a little bit because it was made for a second. Now it's gonna be Osha. Jay, take it away.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. It does feel like they were writing the shows in real time, like almost like it was like, hey, we got episode 1 down, let's film it, let's release it. Now what do we do in episode 2? Okay, well, what if we do these things? And it really felt like they did have a couple of things on the board that were like, we have to get to this. And the problem with doing
you mean
that,
like somebody's bald head at the end?
yes, exactly. Exactly.
And you know what? I'm not even mad at him. So continue. I'm not even mad at him.
Yeah, well, so when you do that, when you say we have to get to this moment, a lot of times you then need to give yourself the time and space to be able to get your characters to that moment in a way that does not feel forced. And so what you have to do is you have to say like, well, what if I put them in this scenario? What if I put them in that scenario? How does the character live and breathe and change based on what's happening to them to get me to this point? And that's a dangerous thing to do because sometimes you can't make a character do the things you want the character to do because you're like, oh, that character would never do this given these circumstances. And so, but it does feel like a lot of this stuff is like, we have to get to this moment, so therefore these characters must do these things, which is why so many of the things in this show feel completely out of left field. So for example, let me give you a couple of examples that I struggle with a lot. One example is saying that they are not twins, that they are the same entity and share the same consciousness. Okay, well, here's the problem with that. How in the world do we get to the same conclusions that they get to in this show? Why does it feel so awkward when May says, I'm going to kill you and set everything on fire? Well, if it's her own consciousness, okay, then I go, okay, maybe that's okay, because maybe it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, and one of them is trying to take over. But then when you switch back and forth between those characters being the good one and the bad one, and you make them make decisions where they're in the moment saying, as the person. For example, with Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the reason why that works is because Mr. Hyde is always bad and Dr. Jekyll is always good. You can't all of a sudden have Dr. Jekyll be like, well, what if I'm bad? And then Mr. Hyde go, well, what if I'm good? Because now the same, the consciousness that's fighting itself is not clear cut to the audience. And it feels like each of those people have their own agency. But if they're the same consciousness, they can't war against one another like that. So the show seems like it says we need to get to this place in time where Osha is willing to say, I'm joining the dark side for these reasons, and I'm willing to erase May's memory. Before that, May needs to get to a place where she's like, I'm willing to kill my sister in order to stay with my mom, because that's how much fear I have. But there's not enough time given to any of these characters, and especially you make it real weird when you say that they're of the same consciousness, for us to be able to understand those concepts. So I feel like that happens multiple times. It's like, here's the really bad guy. It's the stranger. He's the Sith. It's crazy. And then it's like, we'll get to know him a lot in 2 episodes, and then we'll leave him for 2 episodes, and then we'll kind of come back to him again in 2 episodes. And it's like, okay, you did that because you needed characters to get to certain places, but you still didn't let that breathe. And that's not necessarily the fault of the creators. That could be the fault of Disney by not allowing them to go 50 minutes an episode or an hour and 20 an episode or whatever.
Because that's another thing. We don't really know if the original version of this was written way better, and then the money guys said, 12 episodes, 20 episodes, 15 episodes, whatever is not happening.
Yes.
But they've already started, like everyone's already hired. They're like heading to set and stuff. Now it's like, oh, because that stuff does happen. I've been on set where that's happened before. But like, oh yeah. We know it's going to be 2-day shoot. It's going to be a 1 day. It's like, hold on, what do you mean 1 day? You mean we got to do stuff we were planning to do tomorrow? Like, so, I get that, but what we got. But then I guess I also understand it's shot now. We got to put something out. We told everybody was going to make a show called The Acolyte.
Yeah. So, well, you would need to have too. Like, let's just say that you're going to do that. You're going to cut down. If your studio tells you, oh, I'm sorry, you get half of what you thought you were able to get. Well, I don't think you should try to cram all of the different concepts in there. Like let's talk about what this show was going to try and accomplish, because we know that now looking back. This show was going to try to accomplish the first Star Wars character that I know of that was two bodies with the same consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got that as a concept. This is the
That's
first
a huge
show
concept to try to handle. It's something
Huge
that has
concept.
like what 30, 40 years in its history and has never done this.
Yeah, he's never introduced it.
Never
at
ever
all.
done this.
Yeah. You're gonna
Look at how much they went through to explain essentially the Trinity to us in Clone Wars.
Yes. A 3-episode arc on it, right? Like it was with additional stuff coming later on and explained by more people. So then you have that giant concept. You have the other giant concept of saying, in this time of the High Republic, wherein we know that Ki-Adi-Mundi has said that we've never seen the Sith for 1,000 years, you're going to introduce other secret Sith, and we learn in the finale, you're actually going to show Plagueis, which that's a different subject altogether, but like...
Yeah, because I was like, is that supposed to be Plagueis?
Yeah, that was 100% Plagueis, and we should talk about that.
It's not a story that a Jedi would tell. You see?
Well done.
Yeah,
you can always count on Solar for the amazing quotes to come in at the right times.
Because I was like, hold on. Is that supposed to be Plagueis? So, yes, so that is Plagueis, 100%.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah,
which is a whole
in fact,
you know
Leslie
what?
Headland has said it on record. So
oh my
we
God.
know it's him.
Do you know? Okay, people are going to hate me when I say this, but showing Plagueis and showing Yoda reeks of Dave Filoni style Star Wars making. And I know, hold on, guys, hold on, because I love Dave Filoni too. He made all the Clone Wars stuff, and Rebel stuff, and Bad Batch. Yeah, I enjoy it as well. He was in there with the Mandal. I enjoy it as well. But Dave Filoni is famous for being like, let's put in this amazing piece of Star Wars that is not even halfway near what this story needs to be telling.
Yep.
If you want to have Plagueis, have his voice and his shadow loom over this season, loom over Venestra, loom over Soul, so they can feel these feelings of like something's wrong with the Force. There's something going on. I don't like it. I don't feel right. I almost feel sick. Those kind of. Then you can show. Oh my God, man.
They got the looming part right.
Oh,
looming in the shadows. Man, I need to pop in here because you know what? You're absolutely right, Jay. And you bring up a great point, Mike. What I saw in this show, all right, and this was again, there's so much about it that I like. And if I had not worked in and around the industry for as long and as hard as I have, I would have loved this show. And I want to put out there, I recognize 100% that this show is not for me. Okay, this show is for my 10-year-old cousin. All right, that's who this show is for. This show is for my 10-year-old cousin, Kylie, who loves Star Wars, wants to see herself as a Jedi, or maybe a Sith now. Who knows? I get it. That being said, okay, the story structure on this, it doesn't just reek. It reeks, it sounds, it watches. Like, there was a writer, like once upon a time, there was a writer that wrote a cool Star Wars story about a pair of twins that were gifted in the Force. One wanted to be a Jedi, one didn't. And then life happened. Because life happens in a galaxy far, far away now and a long time ago. And then people who signed checks said, I would like to put that story on screen. That sounds like a cool story. I love everything about that story. It is a perfect story. Now, this is what we need to do. And this is what you need to change in that perfect story that I love very much. And they made the changes. And they took this story and said, you know what? It's good that we fleshed out some of the past stuff. And then one little troll person wearing a very expensive suit with a very thin tie and a very thick briefcase then went to this magical place called the editing bay and told the person working his editing magic to put story in order, yeah, you know, my bosses think you should do it this way, because this show was not a show. It was 2 movies that had been cut into 8 episodes of aggressively mediocre storytelling. I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this all week. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna hate my change of heart. Okay, they really are, because if there were ever a need for straight to streaming, straight to video, in canon stuff like, oh, I don't know, Hellraiser, this is what we are looking at. Okay. Because there are 2 stories here that lead to what could be a show. Okay, 2 stories. We either focus on the kids on the planet that starts with a B that I don't even
Brindok.
Yeah, the kids on Brindok. We get a couple of episodes of slice of life from them, climaxing with the fire. End of the show. Season 2. What happened to the girls? That's when we focused on OSHA. You know, not the back and forth, and we focus on OSHA. Maybe we do the subplots with May, but we don't have them find each other. Okay? That in and of itself is a story. Okay? And that show climaxes with OSHA going to the dark side. And then we get this show called The Acolyte with characters that we have come to know. You feel me? You know, or not even straight to DVD.
Those 2 shows,
those 2 shows that I talked about just then, those should have been animated. It should have been a season each of an animated show. It didn't even have to be good animation.
Just you know what?
Animation.
Star Wars has been sleeping on their animation. Like, I mean, they've been using it, but I think they could use it more in the way where, you know, like Warner Brothers does, where they have like they'll animate certain comic book runs and stuff. I think they could do more with their animation, but you know, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, because the show that we got, as I said, is a prequel of itself. Okay. We finally got the Acolyte that was promised in episode 1.
Yeah. I mean, we finally saw the crystal bled to red, which is cool.
That was something that you can tell they wanted to put on screen for at least a decade.
Yeah.
And the part that killed me, okay, this is the part that truly hurt my soul, okay, is that this episode had some of the best writing and some of the best performances of the entire season.
The actors are not the problem. That's the thing. The actors are not the problem. The sets or whatever, the money spent is not the problem. Like,
because when I was watching this, I'm like, this is what I've wanted for at least 4 episodes, because my heart broke when the sisters had to make their agreement. My heart super broke when it turned out that OSHA was the one that killed Saul, and Saul going, you know what? I deserve this. It's okay. You know, I'm like, bro, the Mayans couldn't give me this. All right. Well, like, where has this been? where has this show been? This is it's like hanging out with a bad friend, you know, and you know that bad friend can be cool, and then they do something to let you know that they got your back, but it's not quite too little too late. But it's like, now that I know that you can do this, you need to do this more or I'm out. You feel
okay? Stay on that point.
Yeah.
The scene where Vanestra comes up to her Padawan and he says, Senator Rayencourt is here to see you. And she's like, where's he at? You can see she's already annoyed. Okay. He says he's in there. She says, you let him in the control room? He's like, because of course, yeah, we're Jedi, but senators have power. What am I supposed to do? I work in the mail room. So when she goes in there, the part where they're having a conversation and he's saying, do you suspect a Jedi? And the part where you see them separating and you know they have an issue with each other. And he's like, do you think I have a personal vendetta? And she said, if you want my honest opinion, yes. He said, here's mine. I think the Jedi, I wrote this down. I think the Jedi are a massive system of unchecked power posing as a religion. That is a show. That's a show in itself.
It is.
That's a show. That's what, when I saw this scene, I was like, this is it. This is a show. This is a show in itself on the level of Andor, but you shove it in the finale of
yeah.
Who is in musical terms, who's the A&R for this album? Who's like okay, this is a hot track, but it don't match the rest of them. So we need to find a movie or something to put this on or something, but it don't match. Like, this is a dope song, but it doesn't match the other 10 songs. So I don't know if we should put it on. Maybe there's a mixtape we can put it on or something, but I think the Jedi, and the way he says it that's a show. That itself is a show.
You know,
I'm like, where has this been?
Yeah, you know what I'm hearing?
What?
I'm hearing you say, all right, this guy is whack, but how does he know Kendrick and Busta? Like, how much money does he have to put into this track?
Because it's like, he continues saying it's a delusional cult that claims to control the uncontrollable. That is a show. The struggle between, you know, I mean, shoot, that's kind of like when we watch Evil.
Yeah,
you know, the struggle between David and Kristen.
No, and the fact that he's like, no, the uncontrollable thing are your emotions. Mm-hmm. You can't control emotions. You were trying to make humans not be human. And yeah, I don't trust that. And I'm like, y'all know I'm lukewarm on Anthony Mackie, but I'm like, you know, he's out of line, but he's got a point.
Man, this is this scene is a show that I would watch, because if you match this with the idea that the Jedi have actually, due to their, I don't know, say pious nature or whatever, have actually created the Sith, because Soul and his lies created May, and something Vernestra did created the Stranger. Mm-hmm. And you put that together and you got a show that's dope, y'all. Look, I solved your problem, Disney, right here from Richmond, Virginia. No problem. Did it for free. Just come on YouTube. And I'm not the only person. There's tons of people that have great, like, this show has tons of awesome things in it. But when they put it together, it did not. It's kind of like in Evil when they make candy salad. I like candy. I like salad. But if you put it together, I don't know what y'all girls are doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're trying to kill yourselves or rot all your teeth out. I have no idea.
And it's like, I mean, that I can't even say candy salad because that might be really good. And with with candy salad, if there are certain aspects of candy salad, like any other salad you can pull out the parts that you like and just focus on that.
Oh, okay. So maybe a better one is fruit cake. I like fruit. I like cake.
Exactly.
But when you shove them together and put them in the oven, something happens where it's not awesome anymore.
Specifically when you candy the fruit and then you put in all those nuts and then you soak the thing in liquor thinking, look, if they can get drunk while they eat this, that would be something. And yeah, that I think you've hit on it. This show is literally fruitcake. It literally is.
Because I love that scene. That scene, you see the disdain from Vernestra, which means so this woman can act. The senator, I've seen him he was in Supergirl.
Yeah,
he was
not
in Supergirl.
Just Supergirl. He was the boss in Supergirl.
Yeah, and also Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, Hank Henshaw, Cyborg Superman, and the third actor to play the Martian Manhunter live action. Not the best. Okay, that one goes to Phil Morris. Shouts out. But the second best actor to play the Martian Manhunter.
And this scene is awesome. These actors are awesome, but it just doesn't match. I mean, it kind of matches, but this should have came in episode 1.
Yeah. Well, no, okay.
Because you see, she is immediately annoyed. She heard his name and was immediately annoyed. And you're like, okay, I get the idea. She don't like him. They ain't vibing.
That should have been a show.
Yes.
The story about the girls should have been a show.
Yeah.
The thing about the Jedi hiding the secret should have been the subplot of one of those shows.
And then you can have another
story of the girls. Could have been a show.
Yeah, like
you see, we got fruitcake. We still got fruit. We got the cake of the girls growing up, having to separate. One gets involved with, one essentially gets involved in a gang, and the other one ends up living a life where she's working odd jobs and working for UPS. And like that's what I saw.
And then maybe the acolyte can just be about the stranger and Plagueis until the story about the girls ends. They're like, hey, this show is only 2 seasons. It's actually kind of a mini series. It's 2 seasons. It's like BBC where season 1 is 3 episodes and season 2 is maybe 4 episodes, and that has ended. Now in Acolyte season 2, now we see, so this is where May went. And because maybe Plagueis is like, you need to get a second, you need to get another one, and whatever. We got to take down the Jedi because we hate them. And then it's
I mean,
oh man,
honestly, this show could have been pitched like that. And again, I ain't forgot about you, Jay. Help me out here since I'm channeling. Since I'm doing my best not to channel Ryan George, you tell me if the pitch meeting for this had have said, so you got a new Star Wars show for me? Yes, sir, I do. And it's an anthology about 4 different people. Would that have fixed this?
Oh, it would have gone a long way to fixing it. Yeah. Like an anthology where we could concentrate on different characters at different times and really understand them. I mean,
like Death, Love, and Robots, but Star Wars style.
Yeah. I mean, what you guys are talking about isn't like an anthology like that. Isn't unlike what the MCU tried to do, right? Or accomplished very well, I should say. So it was like you meet Iron Man, you meet Captain America, you meet Black Widow and Hulk, you meet all of these characters, and then what? Now they're in the Avengers, and you don't need all the backstories because you already saw the backstories. You paid us money for the backstories, and everybody's happy with that. So yeah, that would work 100%.
And wow, it's almost like if Disney had decided to do with Star Wars what worked for Marvel
Exactly.
and what they already did, they wouldn't have as many people complaining legitimately about this.
Yeah.
And I gotta say legitimately because we know there's still the bad actors out there going, see, they agree with me. No, I don't agree with you. Anybody can be in fantasy and Star Wars. You need to shut your face. But
just
that
because
being
we
said-
don't like it doesn't mean we don't like it for the same reasons
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
or same motivations.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, you know, they took this anthology and said, let's make it into one show. And it didn't work.
I mean, listen. All right, listen. Ray in Court says you project an image of goodness and restraint, but it's only a matter of time before one of you snaps. And when, not if that happens, who will be strong enough to stop him? Boom. That's, bruh, this is a show in itself. Like, who wrote this? Whoever wrote this, keep them. All right, keep that person.
You know,
Right.
quite honestly,
Whoever planned to jumble all this into one pot, fired him.
see, that's where I'm sitting on this. Quite honestly. All right. What I see with this was it had good writers. It had good actors. It even had decent directors. Okay. What it had were bad decision makers.
Okay.
Okay. Whoever was out there telling like whoever was in command of the showrunner was the problem. Because we've been saying this all seasons. What order are they releasing this in? What story are they trying to tell? You know, and
So yeah, all the questions, the main issues we've had is more like organizational, structural issues.
exactly.
Like none of us have said I hate this actor or the set doesn't look like it's expensive or we didn't
I did
talk about
comment
any
on the outfits. I did.
Oh, yeah.
I did comment on the wardrobe because I can't stand that much yellow and brown. But that's a personal taste. But you know what? I bet dollars to donuts if any of us sat down with our video editing gear and a week and re-edited this to something cohesive, we would probably have the show that we wanted.
Yeah, because like we've said before, or I've said before, remove episode 3 and cut that into flashback bits, and then you can move up episode 4 to 3, 5, and then I would take that scene that I was just talking about, throw that in episode 1. So yeah, honestly, okay, if I had the time, I could probably edit this down into 2 shows that even run concurrently. Like, okay, the sister is on Tuesday, and the Acolyte is on Thursday, and you see, you could do that, and then you wouldn't have to worry about, I don't know, you wouldn't have to worry about such a organizational issue with watching this. Because then even with the way I think episode 6 ended, we come into episode 7 being like, oh yeah, we gonna hear what Soul got to say, and then it's like, nah, flashback time. It's like, hold up, so is this just episode 3 but like a better version of it? Like, what are you doing? Hold up, why are we watching episode 3 again? It would be better to see those memories as Osha's and May's memories of episode 3, and then put episode 6 or 7, sorry, I think 7, episode 7 all the way up to like episode 3 or 4. But then if we're going to chop this up, yeah, I'd probably chop them into 2 different shows. But yeah, you're right. I think if we edited this differently, it's probably an organizational issue. Because this is just, oh man, I'm glad it's over. Yeah, like Jay. Okay, is there a part of this episode? I'll go back on the nice side. I'll throw it to Jay. Jay, what's the part of this episode that you really enjoy?
Oh man, don't do this to me. I gotta think about this now. Here's the problem. The problem I have with it is that, like, so you just mentioned a great scene with Vernestra and the senator. And here's the thing. I completely forgot of that scene, dude. I don't remember that. I didn't remember that scene at all. I'm like, oh, that's right. That dude was in there. I forgot about that. Because my brain is still trying to process all the other things that happened. So, I think that if I'm going to go back to the things I enjoyed in this show, it's going to be a couple things that Solar has already mentioned. So I'll just repeat them because I think I agree with him that they're good. The fight scenes are dope. I like adding wire work to Star Wars makes all the sense in the world. Like the fact that it's actually taken this long.
That is a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's like a no-brainer. Yeah. The fact that it's taken us this long to get there is kind of wild. But like, so that's awesome. Love that. I also love Manny Jacinto, and I have seen like the first several seasons of The Good Place, and Solar is 100% correct. Like, it's a different guy on screen. Like, it's not even. Honestly,
we're talking Val Kilmer levels of character acting. Okay,
yes.
You'd be like, wait, that's him?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I actually was struggling to remember. I'm like, dude, I know this guy looks familiar, but I can't figure out where he's from. Like that's how intense it was when I first saw him on the screen, and then I had to remember, like, oh no, that is that dude. Oh, that's crazy. So I think he's amazing. I actually think that. Here's the struggle I'm having, and this kind of dovetails off what you guys were just talking about. I'm having a really hard time understanding, without knowing more about how Lucasfilm does its process. I'm having a really hard time because, like, I hear a lot of people saying, like, well, the writing sucks, and then I hear people saying, oh, like, no, I mean, and I'm like, well, actually, we don't really know, because on this show we've talked about the writing, we've talked about the editing. We don't know if you could edit this show any differently because we don't know how much footage was actually filmed. Is Leslie Headland directing this and having her other directors direct this in a way where they're just capturing a bunch of different story beats and then, like, they give those over to the editing team to mess with, or is she directing? Is she having her directors work on hour and 20-minute shows that when they get to the editing bay, they say, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels really boring. Cut it down to 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost impossible to tell what they have and what they don't have. And that's not usually, like, there's some, I don't know Leslie Headland well enough as a showrunner or as a director to know, like, what her view is. I know going into a Zack Snyder movie that I should just wait for the 3-hour version because the 2-hour version is not going to make any sense, right? Like, and I like Zack Snyder. I just feel like it's like I just kind of know, like, the studio's going to say it needs to be 2.5 hours or less, Zach, and he's going to be like, "Oh, I'll give you 4. Do what you want with it." And so,
look, I'm a Dune fan, okay? So, yeah, I'm gonna need at least 18 hours to tell the story. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Exactly. So
that is a good point on what their process is, because we have no idea, and maybe it's because maybe Lucasfilm. I mean, maybe the filming industry as a whole needs to be more agile to where we started this production. It's like, you know what? This kind of works as 2 different shows. So let's keep filming, but now we're going to separate these camps and we're going to slow down a little bit and finish both of these shows. And then we'll just tell the fans that they're getting 2 shows. I mean, if you said, hey, you're getting like, hey, I'm making dinner, and it's like, okay, what are you making? I'm making your favorite. Cool. And then they come back and like, you know what? It's going to take a little bit longer, but we're going to make twice as much. You're going to be like, yay! You're not going to be mad. You're going to be like, all right, cool. Maybe the film industry needs to be more agile or something. I don't know. I mean, I've already talked about their spending. Like, the film industry needs to learn how to go to the clearance rack, because like, y'all look. The film industry y'all always trying to shop at Macy's and all these. Look, y'all need to go to Burlington. All right, y'all need to go to TJ Maxx. Go to Ross. Go to Goodwill. Look, now you're gonna have to dig through the rack a little bit to find something good. But y'all are spending too much. But I mean, I am interested to know what their process is, because when you see a show like this that was announced so long ago, it makes you wonder, like, well, how long did it take to do these parts, and like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. So that's what's difficult for me to say about what was good and bad. Because I'll give you a couple of other things that I think. I'll word it this way: they could have been super cool, but it felt like they were shoved in a way, in an already stuffed show that was like, I'm already trying to grapple with the concept that you're presenting to me that's core to this show, and now you just added on another element that is not core to this show, but now I'm like, I'll give you a perfect example. Chimere, the stranger, he has some scars on his back. His arms, when he's wearing his muscle shirts, his arms are sort of they don't look like they're quite right. They looked okay when he was swimming around in the pond or whatever, but it's for difficult for the ladies. Yeah, that's exactly right. And some of the guys too. But he does not have the traditional look of a Sith who the dark side has transformed into making them grotesque. Like we've normally seen that, right? The dark side, you pay a price for using it. It has your physical appearance changes over the course of time. We don't really see that with Chimere.
Or maybe you just get electrocuted, and, you know.
Yeah, or you just go straight there if you have enough force lightning. So I say that to set this up. The bleeding of a lightsaber crystal. To me, first of all, I did not know that was a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I am very steeped in what's been on screen, and then I know most of the time what's been off screen, but in recent years especially, I haven't been able to read enough of that stuff to understand how that exactly worked. So let's just take that moment for a second, right? We have a Sith character who is not grotesque, who already has a red lightsaber, and we meet him with a red lightsaber. That's the stranger. We have Osha, who has what I would call a fairly quick turn towards the dark side. It's not like it took us 2 episodes to get her to the dark side. It took us like 1.5 episodes maybe to get her to the dark side. Because she went from, I'm going to go full Jedi, to no way, I'm going to kill the guy that I've loved my whole life and actually felt a connection with, right? Now, they bleed that lightsaber crystal in 3 seconds. I mean, is it 5 seconds of on-screen time? Is it, maybe I'll give them credit, maybe it's 10 seconds of on-screen time?
It's kind of like slow motion. So on-screen time is probably maybe about 10 seconds or so, maybe 5 seconds.
Yep. Yeah. So I sit there and I think to myself, that concept is like a concept that you could have a show around. You could have a show around, there's someone struggling, like, for example, Kylo Ren. There's someone struggling to become more dark side, but there's something holding them back. And the way that we see that character evolve is through their lightsaber and the bleeding of the lightsaber crystal. And how it's like, he basically, he would not be able to get it to bleed until he does something like kill Han Solo, right? But instead, that's given to us in a really short time frame when it's not even her lightsaber that she's bleeding the crystal of. And so what it does is, to me, it's kind of like saying, and this is a very risky thing to do in stories, I'm going to give you a dopamine hit without giving you any foreshadowing that it is an earned dopamine hit. In other words, let me say this a little bit differently. I'm going to show you something cool, but I'm not going to explain to you why it's cool. I'm just going to expect you to know. Because I'm Dave Filoni. Well, yeah, and I think that people like Dave Filoni actually kind of probably struggle with that, because Dave Filoni knows so much about Star Wars that, like, he thinks that the person who knows a lot about Star Wars like probably knows a tenth of what he knows about Star Wars, right? Like I'm probably that person, and so I understand why Dave Filoni probably does that a lot, but I feel like the showrunners were doing that with this particular moment. But I feel like that's also true of the Plagueis moment, and I feel like it's also true of the Yoda moment. Here's my problem with the Plagueis moment. What do we know about Plagueis, right? If you know from the films, you know that Plagueis was essentially the master of the person in Star Wars who is the most dangerous dark side user we've ever seen on screen. You could make an argument for Vader, but like, I mean, Palpatine controlled entire nations and planetary systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that Plagueis is the thing we learn about him is that he was able to create life. Okay. If you show us if for 2 seconds on screen, maybe 3 seconds, if you show us a guy who's sort of hiding in the shadows like Gollum, it doesn't ring true to me that that's Plagueis right off the bat, right? Like, I was told that Plagueis was the guy who created life, who trained Palpatine. Like, if that's the guy I'm seeing on screen, wouldn't we see him as like standing on top of a mountaintop staring down at them and being like, I don't care if they can see me, they can't touch me, or I can erase their minds if they see me. I don't care. I'm one of the most powerful dark side users that's ever existed. Mm-hmm. Instead, he's like sneaking in the cave like Gollum. Like, so it's weird. All you give me is the little glimpse, and it's not a bad moment. It's not a bad moment. They show the fingers crawling up on there, then they switch the view, and he comes kind of out of the shadows a little bit. That well filmed. I'll give them that. It's well filmed. I liked the way that they did it. It felt creepy to me. But did it feel like Plagueis? I mean, not really. If you know a little bit more about Plagueis from the EU or from any of the extended materials, dude seems like an even bigger badass. So like, I just feel like there's these moments in there, even going to Yoda at the very end. You go to Yoda at the very end, and it's like the implications of that from a person who knows Star Wars. I kind of feel like I'm like, isn't Yoda gonna look at Vernestra and be like, hiding things you are, like, you know, like, get out of here, like we have to solve this problem. Like, why would he be able to be deceived by Vernestra? Like, it's just these questions that the show raises in these little tiny moments.
Okay, you're assuming a lot on that. You're assuming a lot on that.
I am assuming a lot on that.
Vernestra is hiding.
Was that?
We don't know that Vernestra is hiding stuff from Yoda.
You think Yoda's in on it?
Well,
Yoda has always been a little.
Well, remember they were
not
always
what we think Jedi are. You know.
Well, she seemed this whole show. She seemed like she wanted to keep this, you know, kind of in-house in that little department instead of letting the whole Jedi Council know. So I mean, it seemed like she and maybe Soul might have been the only ones that kind of like knew or went back. And I mean, maybe she only knows what happened with the stranger. I mean, Yor did recognize him. Yor recognized him. Soul recognized him. So maybe they know a little bit, but it does seem like it doesn't seem like everybody knows what she knows.
Well, and if we're, I mean, I don't hate that concept, Solar. Like, if Yoda knows, I don't hate that concept, but it also means that when he's sitting on the council, in the prequel trilogy, and Ki-Adi-Mundi says the Sith haven't been around for 1,000 years, that Yoda's just straight up lying. I mean, like, that he's straight up going to be like, I better not tell him. I better not tell him there actually was a bunch of Sith out there, and that Plagueis was one of them. Yeah. So
and I'm gonna put this out there. Given, I want everybody to understand that I have been ride or die for Yoda since 1979. All right, yeah. I will. Anybody who has ever talked Star Wars with me ever knows that I am Team Yoda. But that being said, he ain't always been straightforward.
Oh no, he's not always been straightforward.
Again, Luke, sure. You must not go. That boy is our last hope. Nope, there's another one. And even Obi-Wan was like, whoa, what?
He was like, word? Or like, what's in there? Only what you take with you. It's like, I'd like a little bit, a little bit more clarity on that.
And And I mean, Yoda has always played cards close to his chest. You know, I mean, I've always been on that whole thing of like, hey, Yoda is talking, blah, blah, blah. Wait a minute. Yoda's saying we shouldn't train the boy. It's like, but he'll bring balance to the Force. I was still waiting for Yoda to be like, balance to the Force, we need not. Ahead the light side is, you know?
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. But again, if you're going to show me that moment, I can only take into that moment what you've given me to take into that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this show has given me nothing to take into that moment besides what I know about Vernestra.
Yeah, so like she's hiding something.
That she's hiding something. And so and it's only giving me what I'm taking into the moment with the saber bleeding, and it's only giving me that moment what I've taken into that moment with Plagueis. And so I think that my issue is that in a story that has been so convoluted, and as Solar says, should have been an anthology, why are you adding things as the resolution is coming to a completion? Why are you adding things? Like,
as I said, it's not over. It's not
getting
over. A season 2.
It maybe is, but let me put a pin on what I'm saying. It has not completed season 1. And that's a giant problem.
Also fair.
Yeah.
That's also fair.
I think that's their biggest issue is they haven't resolved. Oh man, that's you know what, guys, we've been here. I thank you if you've been listening this long. We thank you because we know this has been a struggling show. You know what? I'm gonna throw it to Jay. Jay, final thoughts where they can find you. Yeah, because I really don't know where to go.
So my final thoughts are, I was nervous about this show because some of the trailer felt a little fan filmish to me when I saw it. And I was like, oh man, please don't be a bad show. Like, I want to watch an awesome Star Wars show. Like, I'm so hyped for another I'm getting less and less hyped for Star Wars shows, but I really want to be back to like Mandalorian season 1 levels of hype for Star Wars shows, right? Like, that's my desire.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Michael because we did a trailer breakdown, and I was like, you know what? I'm more hyped for this after talking to Michael because he like hit me with some premises. He hit me with some concepts that I think this show could be following, and I was hyped about it. And then I started watching the show, and I thought, man, we've got the ability for this to be great. I love the concepts that are being discussed here. I really like the performers in the show. I think there's only a couple of performances that don't really resonate with me personally, but for the most part, like, the performances are great. The actress who plays May and Osha, I think, is super strong. I think that Soul was I don't remember that actor's name, but he's strong. Manny Jacinto is a standout, phenomenal. I thought all of that was like great. The fight scenes, great. But ultimately, what I came away with after this episode ended was I went, yeah, it really did feel like someone pitched Lucasfilm on a set of fan films that they all spliced together into a series. And to Solar's point, there's a lot of good stuff in each one of those fan films. But when you tie them all together into what you're calling a season, none of those fan films actually accomplish what the season was attempting to accomplish, in my opinion. And so, of course, this is just my opinion. If you like the show, then I think you should feel good about liking the show, and don't listen to me and let me bring your high down, right? Like, I'm just trying to point out areas where, from a person who really enjoys storytelling, and that's why Andor is like one of my favorite Star Wars properties of all time, this does not have has very few storytelling components that I would be willing to say I would put my stamp of approval on this storyteller's ability to communicate a story. Now, there's lots of reasons that we've already talked about that could not be the problem of the storyteller. It could be the problem of, everyone involved in the show is a storyteller, but it could be the fault of the editor as the storyteller. It could be the fault of the director as the storyteller. It could be the fault of the showrunner. It could be the fault of as Michael has pointed out, There's people who aren't storytellers that are producers, probably, that are getting their hands on the show.
Yeah,
I don't
'cause, like,
know where the breakdown is.
Who was watching the dailies and saying yes? Who's that?
Yes.
Who is watching the footage coming in every day and saying yes, this is good. We're going to keep going. And then who was watching like the first and second cuts or something? Like what? Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah.
What's your final thoughts?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So when I add all of those things up, I go, man, I'm mostly just confused. And do I think that there was some? Here's the thing. I'm not mad at this show. I'm super disappointed in this show because there's so much here that, given the right resourcing and given the right choices, this is a 10 out of 10 show.
Yeah, like we were rooting for you.
Yeah, exactly. You do what Solar said, and you turn this into an anthology where it's 4 different shows. Why burn through all of these ideas so fast when we would be so satisfied with 4 shows that dealt with all of these different ideas in a different way? You could have a whole show where it's like here's Plagueis in the Shadows. You could have a whole show of like what was Yoda doing during the High Republic. You could have a whole show on what Michael's concept, where it's like the Jedi are acting that are a religion acting like a political faction, or a political faction acting like a religion, whatever he said in that context. So my end result here is just me saying like, man, I'm pretty disappointed, and honestly, I have to have a second season. I would really question putting together that second season the same way you put together the first season. I would really question the same team building out that second season because of how messy this season was. But to Solar's point, this show is not even close to being over. You just introduced a bunch of concepts that I'm interested in seeing.
I mean, it's kind of, this is a whole nother show, but it's kind of like the Boys finale this week. It's like, at the end of last season, I thought you guys were kind of heading to the end, but at the end of the season, I feel like you guys could do another 3 seasons off of this.
Yes.
But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's kind of my take. Like, I'm not a hater on this show. I'm not going to tell you shouldn't like it. That'd be crazy. I'm also not going to say I would never watch another Leslie Headland property or something stupid like that. I'm totally down for watching something else that Leslie Headland does. I'm not against any creator in this universe. What I am struggling with, from my personal subjective opinion, is that this did not contain the storytelling elements that I would have liked to have seen. I'm fairly forgiving of Star Wars in that regard, I think, although I'm fairly harsh on most properties in that regard. So maybe I'm not as forgiving as I should be. But that's my ultimate feeling, is it's kind of like, yeah, I do want a season 2, and I do want this to kind of keep in this era. I want to know more. I like that we're not a part of the Skywalker era anymore. That's phenomenal. But like, I don't know if I can go through the same kind of disappointment that I went through this season. So can we switch some things up? So that's kind of where I'll end it. You can find me on YouTube, How Stories Work with Jay Sherer. I also have a short film that is hitting the festival circuit soon. So I think we've submitted it to 42 different festivals. So at some point this year, I'll be traveling around to some of these festivals and trying to showcase it. But yeah, that's what I'm up to. How Stories Work with Jay Sherer. I've got some of my journey taking this through the festival circuit, my journey directing the film that I did. It's a short film. It's a short film that I think this audience would actually dig, because it's a thriller that uses superhero archetypes to kind of tell the story. So I gotta be able to. I have a link now that I can send you, Michael. So I'll have to send it to Michael so you can watch
nice.
it. But yeah. So I'll be taking that on the festival circuit. Catch me on YouTube there. You can also catch me on YouTube on the Orange Grove 55 channel, which I do shows on, called The Story Geek Show, and I do like one a month. I've had to decrease my production of that show so much. It bums me out, because I'd like to do twice as many of them, but I just can't. But yeah, it has been an absolute pleasure as always. There's very few people that I want to talk about Star Wars with these days. NERDSoul is one of them. Solar Grey is one of them. And I appreciate you guys talking Star Wars with me this whole time, because I love talking Star Wars with you guys, and I feel like you both have amazing ideas and are Star Wars geniuses in your own right.
Cool. Thanks. Mr. Greye, if you could shed some light on the final thoughts and where they can find you.
So, final thoughts on this episode. So, I'm gonna put this out there, so that folks know a little bit about me and how I think. In the 90s, I was a great big Tim Burton fan. Okay, and I'm talking Beetlejuice, Nightmare, Batman, of course, you know. But there came a point where I stopped liking his work.
Mm-hmm.
And that point was Big Fish. Now, I started falling out of Tim Burton around Planet of the Apes. I'm like, oh, he knows how to use a different color palette. That's nice. But Big Fish showed me that this filmmaker who was there for quirky stuff can actually do an emotionally compelling, very good story. Not just weird or goth or edgy, but just a good story that can fall into the area of timeless. He's that good. And from that moment on, I hated his work. Because I realized he had the capability and willfully never used it. And that's what this episode was for me.
Okay.
This episode nailed the emotional beats that it hinted at throughout the season. It didn't rely on action, but it had actual story. It had actor performances that we want to come to expect from Star Wars, that we did expect from Star Wars back in 1999. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I said expect, not achieve.
Not received. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. It gave us all those things that we wanted for 20 minutes out of 8 episodes. And that's upsetting. Because again, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but I was misty when the sisters came to terms with stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all got out of that. Why are you going to that tree? Why are you just standing there? Oh my God. Oh.
At least they're both alive, because when they went to that tree, I thought only one was going to leave.
You know, it gave us an aspect of a Sith that we'd never seen before. That was interesting. A Sith that was not a mustache twirling villain, but was actually the kind of dude that you would actually want to go have a cup of coffee with. Like, all right, no, cool. Tell me a little bit more about this whole why you quit being a Jedi. I ain't going to the dark side, but I'm willing to hear your point of view because you're not talking about sand. You know, it gave us all that stuff in about 25 minutes. And I had to wait 8 episodes to get what they had the whole time. And I'm like, now you're showing me that you were capable, like that you were worth my belief this whole time. I thought you were just messing up. Now it feels like you just didn't care until now. And that hurt. That hurts a lot. So this show, best episode of the entire show. Hands down, bar none, period. Matter of fact, it was so good, it makes me ask the question, why weren't you doing this the whole time? Who wouldn't let you, and why do they still have a job? And you can find me at twitch.tv/BID_P on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But just also subscribe to that channel with your Amazon Prime account so it doesn't cost you money. All right. Use Daddy Bezos's money. I
Daddy
promise you,
Bezos.
I get enough from Amazon to cover your cost. And when I say that, I mean I order enough from Amazon for you not to feel bad for using a free subscription on that channel for me. And second, you can subscribe to the Solar Grey YouTube channel to see what we're putting up. We got story talk, role-playing stuff, tabletop miniature things, painting instruction, and just a whole bunch of positive things to say. Be you regardless of who you are, and be the best version of you that you can muster. And that's going to alter from day to day, but just keep going in that direction.
Man, I think this is my final thoughts. Yes, your statement about this episode being the best, I agree. At the end, Vanestra, when she speaks to the Senate, she says 16 years ago, 4 Jedi were stationed on the planet Brendok. They discovered a force cult witches and all that stuff. A conflict ensued. There were many casualties. Then it says afterwards, Jedi conspired to keep the issue a secret. When the truth threatened to come out, Soul, a rogue Jedi named Soul, killed his accomplices to maintain the cover story. Now, the reason this is a show is because we see her lean to. We never knew what she said to him, but when it flashes to her saying, "I'm sorry, my friend," and the reason she's sorry is because the Jedi are about to be essentially Sith to maintain their power. She gave them and gave that Senator Rancourt a nice little packaged up bow so everybody can be happy. Remember, he said not if, but when someone goes rogue. Boom, I gave him his, so he can be happy that he's always been right, and we and the rest of the Senate can feel safe that we've nipped it in the bud, and we get to maintain power and nobody ever questions us. That's a story. And maybe the struggle between her and Yoda being like, look, man, you might need to leave. This ain't what we do. You going a little too far. Who knows? But that's amazing. That's amazing right there. For her to lean down and be like, I'm sorry, but I got to throw you under the bus. Because the Senate breathing down my neck and the Jedi got to maintain power. And even if it's a thing of like, no, we don't always get it right. But if we ain't in power, then it's going to be Sith and force cults and this, that, and the third. And we ain't going to have the power or position to be able to fight that back. But give us that. But I love that part of this show. I think that was awesome. This is just full of cool things wrapped in confusion and disorganization. NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. Until the next time that something Star Wars comes out, maybe not this. Leslie Headland, I'm going to be honest with you. The next time you do a show, I'm going to have to ask somebody about the first 2 episodes or so before I straight jump in. Because, look, if you want your name on the project, you got to the buck stops somewhere. So the next time you do a show, I'm gonna have to get a good word of mouth before I jump in. But Star Wars, look, just y'all, we here, man. Just bring the fire. Just bring the fire. So, of course, until next time, that you have to throw a dead Jedi under the bus to make sure that the rest of the Jedi Order maintains power. We're just saying, peace.
Bye. See you guys later.